Have you noticed it? That subtle shift in strength that seems to creep up on you? A jar lid that feels a little tighter than it used to? A favorite armchair that requires just a bit more effort to stand up from? Or maybe it's a general loss of stamina, a feeling that the activities you once did with ease now leave you feeling tired. This experience, this gradual fading of physical power, is incredibly common. But it's not just a vague part of getting older. It has a name. It's a recognized medical condition called sarcopenia, the progressive, age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. And I want to acknowledge right from the start the frustration and worry that comes with it. This isn't just about muscle. It's about the quiet fear that can accompany this loss of strength, the fear of a fall, the fear of losing your mobility, and ultimately, the fear of losing your independence. Research has shown that for many older adults, this fear is more profound than the fear of death itself. What's so frustrating is that this can create a vicious cycle. The weaker we feel, the more we fear falling, and that fear can cause us to move less, which in turn makes our muscles even weaker. It can feel like a trap. But what if I told you that this process is not inevitable? According to one of the nation's leading geriatricians, doctors who specialize in the health and care of older adults, the key to breaking this cycle and rebuilding what's been lost often lies not in a new pill or a complicated machine, but on your plate. This expert has spent over 30 years helping patients reclaim their strength and independence. And in this video, I'm going to share their complete nutritional blueprint with you, and it starts with understanding the single biggest and most common mistake people make when trying to eat healthy after 65, a mistake that paradoxically can actually make muscle loss worse. For decades, a persistent myth has shaped how we think about nutrition as we age. The myth is that because our metabolism slows down, we need less food, and especially less protein. It seems logical. We may need fewer calories to maintain our weight, so it's easy to assume that all our nutrient needs decrease in lockstep. But a top geriatrician I've consulted with calls this the most dangerous myth in senior nutrition, because the scientific and clinical truth is this: as you age, your body's need for protein doesn't just stay the same, it actually increases. The reason for this comes down to a concept called anabolic resistance. Think of it this way. When you were younger, your muscles were very sensitive to the protein you ate. A small amount would send a clear signal to them to begin the process of repair and growth. But as we age, our muscles become a bit hard of hearing to that signal. They need a louder, stronger message in the form of more protein to get the same job done. This blunted response is what doctors call anabolic resistance. I understand that hearing this might be unsettling, especially if you've been carefully following advice to eat less, and it's perfectly okay to feel that way. But what I want you to remember is that knowledge is power. Understanding this one concept is the first, most critical step toward taking back control of your muscle health. Let me share a story from this expert's clinic that illustrates this perfectly. A patient, let's call him Robert, a man in his late 70s, came to the office feeling weak and unsteady. He'd had a recent fall that had shaken his confidence. Yet, he was proud of his diet. For years, he'd been eating what he thought was perfectly healthy: a small bowl of cereal for breakfast, a large salad with just a few strips of chicken for lunch, and a modest portion of fish and vegetables for dinner. He diligently avoided red meat and full-fat dairy, believing he was doing everything right for his heart and his weight. But a clinical assessment told a different story. He had significant sarcopenia. His healthy diet, the one he was so careful about, was starving his muscles of the very protein they desperately needed to overcome anabolic resistance and stay strong. And Robert's story is not unique. This expert sees it time and again. It's what I call the healthy diet trap. It's especially common after a hospital stay or a period of illness. Bed rest, even for just a few days, can cause rapid and significant muscle loss in an older adult. If that person then goes home and follows a diet that is low in protein, even if it's considered healthy by other standards, they may never fully recover that lost strength. The cycle of weakness begins, all because of a fundamental misunderstanding of what our muscles truly need as we age. So, if the problem is anabolic resistance, the first part of the solution is to provide your body with enough protein to overcome it. This isn't just about eating protein in general. Let's start with quantity. Based on the large body of clinical research, expert groups like the European Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism now recommend that healthy older adults consume between 1.0 and 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight each day. For those managing a chronic or acute illness, that recommendation can be even higher, up to 1.5 grams per kilogram. But here's the part that is just as crucial, and it's a lesson that comes from decades of clinical practice. Just hitting a total number for the day isn't enough. To truly overcome that hard-of-hearing state in your muscles, you need to send a strong, clear signal at each meal. The research shows that a dose of about 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein is what's needed in a single sitting to maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So what does that look like in real food? A 25 to 30 gram dose of protein is about a 4-ounce chicken breast or a 5-ounce salmon fillet. It's about 1 cup of Greek yogurt mixed with a scoop of protein powder, or 1.5 cups of cooked lentils. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. That sounds like a lot of food, and my appetite isn't what it used to be. Or perhaps chewing tougher foods is a challenge. A geriatric nutrition specialist would suggest starting small and focusing on nutrient density. You don't have to eat a huge steak. Think about sources that are both powerful and easy to eat. For example, cottage cheese and Greek yogurt are soft, require no chewing, and are packed with protein. Eggs, whether scrambled, poached, or in an omelet, are a fantastic and gentle protein source. Flaky fish, like salmon or cod, cooked until tender, is much easier to manage than tougher cuts of meat. And well-cooked beans and lentils can be mashed easily or blended into hearty soups. For some, especially at breakfast, a high-quality protein shake can be a simple and effective tool to bridge the gap. The most common mistake the experts see is what they call protein skewing. This is where someone has a very light, low-protein breakfast, like toast or plain cereal, a slightly better lunch, and then tries to make up for it with a very large, protein-heavy dinner. With this pattern, you are only sending that powerful muscle-building signal once a day. The goal is to send that strong 25 to 30 gram signal 3 times a day. Spreading your protein intake evenly across your meals is the key to waking up your muscles. Making this change might feel like a big adjustment at first, and that's completely normal. The key is not perfection, but gentle, consistent effort. Start with one meal. Perhaps you can add a couple of eggs or some Greek yogurt to your breakfast. Small steps, taken consistently, lead to big results. Once we have the right quantity and distribution of protein, the next step, according to the science, is to focus on protein quality. Because it turns out, not all protein is created equal when it comes to building muscle. Within every protein source are building blocks called amino acids, and one of these, an essential amino acid called leucine, acts like a spark plug for muscle growth. It is the primary trigger that flips the switch and tells your muscle cells to start the process of repair and synthesis. If your meal contains enough leucine, it sends that loud, clear signal we talked about. If it doesn't, the signal is weak, and the muscle-building response is blunted. So how do we ensure we're getting enough of this crucial spark plug? We do it by focusing on foods that are naturally high in leucine. As a general rule, animal-based proteins are the most concentrated sources. Foods like beef, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy products are all excellent choices. For those who prefer plant-based options, there are also fantastic choices. Soy products like tofu and edamame, lentils, and many types of beans are rich in leucine. Certain nuts and seeds like pumpkin seeds are also very good sources. The key for those eating a primarily plant-based diet is to eat a variety of these sources throughout the day to ensure you get the full spectrum of amino acids your body needs. Now, a common question that arises here is, with all this talk about protein and leucine, do I need to spend a lot of money on expensive supplements or special powders? And the answer from the experts I consult with is almost always the same. Food first. While supplements can be a convenient tool, especially if appetite is low or you're recovering from an illness, you can absolutely meet your needs with affordable, everyday foods. Let's look at some budget-friendly powerhouses. Eggs are one of the most affordable, high-quality proteins available. Canned tuna or salmon are inexpensive, have a long shelf life, and are packed not only with protein, but also beneficial fats. Dried beans and lentils are incredibly cheap and represent a fantastic source of both protein and fiber. And dairy products like cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, especially when bought in larger tubs instead of individual cups, are very cost-effective protein sources. It's easy to start a new plan with great enthusiasm, only to have life get in the way. Perhaps you have a day where you just don't feel like cooking, or you're not feeling well and your appetite is low. Please, do not see this as a failure. It is simply part of life. This journey is not about being perfect. It's about having a plan, but also giving yourself grace. If one day is off, simply get back to your plan the next day. A single day does not undo your progress. Consistency over time is what truly matters. Let's take a moment and pause here. We started by identifying a common problem, the frustrating loss of muscle and strength, known as sarcopenia. We then uncovered the expert's diagnosis, that a dangerous myth about needing less protein, combined with the reality of anabolic resistance, is often to blame. And we've laid out the first two powerful evidence-based solutions: optimizing your protein quantity and distribution, and focusing on protein quality by choosing leucine-rich foods. It's important to see how these are not separate ideas, but a system. Think of it like building a brick wall. Strategy 1, getting enough total protein spread throughout the day, is like making sure you have a steady supply of bricks delivered to the worksite all day long. Strategy 2, ensuring that protein is rich in leucine, is like having the foreman on site, telling the workers exactly when and where to lay those bricks. You need both the materials and the instructions for the wall to get built. And by staying with me this far, you have already armed yourself with more practical, science-backed knowledge about this topic than most people will ever have. You are taking a powerful step in advocating for your own health, and that is something to be proud of. But what if you're doing everything right with protein and still not getting the results you want? What if there's a hidden saboteur inside your body, actively working to break down the very muscle you're trying to build? According to the geriatric specialists, there often is. And understanding this final piece of the puzzle is what separates those who struggle from those who truly transform their strength and vitality. The foods we've discussed so far are the building blocks. The foods we're about to discuss are what protect your investment. For decades, scientists have been studying a process they call inflammaging. It's a kind of quiet, persistent, low-grade inflammation that can spread throughout the body as we age. And one of its primary targets is our muscle. This isn't the good kind of inflammation you feel after an injury, the kind that rushes healing factors to the area. This is a destructive, background noise of inflammation that sends a constant signal to your body to break down muscle tissue. It creates what doctors call a catabolic or destructive state. This is the hidden saboteur. It can actively counteract even the best protein-rich diet, making it feel like you're taking one step forward and one step back. So the third evidence-based strategy is to use our diet to turn down the volume on this inflammation. We need to create a more muscle-friendly environment inside our bodies. And one of the most powerful tools we have to do this is a type of healthy fat called omega-3 fatty acids, specifically the types known as EPA and DHA. These specific omega-3s are potent anti-inflammatory agents. They work at a cellular level to calm that destructive background noise. The most potent food sources of these fats are found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines. Plant-based sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts are also beneficial, containing a precursor to these fats and other healthy compounds. By regularly including these foods, you are not just providing building blocks. Now, when you start to incorporate more of these anti-inflammatory foods, the first changes you notice probably won't be on a scale or a muscle measurement. The experts say the first signs are often more subtle. You might notice a little less morning stiffness in your joints. You might feel a bit more energy, a little less of that general achiness that you thought was just a normal part of aging. These are the early signs that you are beginning to create a less inflammatory, more pro-muscle environment inside your body. It's a quiet victory, but a profoundly important one. We've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about protein quantity, quality, and the importance of taming inflammation. And now it's time to bring it all together into one powerful, unifying principle. This is the insight that makes all the other strategies work together, almost effortlessly. The principle is nutrient synergy. It's the understanding that these key nutrients, protein, omega-3s, and one more critical player, vitamin D, don't just work in isolation. They work as a team. They are part of a system, and when you provide the whole system with what it needs, the results are far greater than the sum of the parts. Let's return to our construction site analogy one last time to see how this all fits together. We said that protein provides the bricks, the raw material for building. We said that leucine, the special amino acid, is the foreman on site, shouting the order to start building. We then learned that omega-3 fatty acids are the cleanup crew, constantly clearing away the inflammatory rubble that would otherwise stop the work. And vitamin D? Vitamin D is the master power switch for the entire construction site. It is absolutely essential for normal muscle function, for balance, and it directly helps regulate the process of muscle protein synthesis itself. A deficiency in vitamin D, which is incredibly common in older adults, is like having the power to the worksite cut off. You can have all the bricks, the best foreman, and the most efficient cleanup crew in the world. But if there's no power, nothing gets built. When you see your diet through this lens, as a way to supply the entire construction crew, everything changes. You're no longer just eating food. So how do we put this all into practice without getting overwhelmed? The geriatrician's advice is to keep it simple. Here is a 3-point action plan to focus on. 1. The protein rule. At every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, aim to have a source of high-quality, leucine-rich protein that's about the size of the palm of your hand. This ensures you're hitting that 25 to 30 gram target and sending that strong muscle-building signal throughout the day. 2. The support crew. A few times a week, make one of those protein sources a fatty fish, like salmon or mackerel, to get your anti-inflammatory omega-3s. And it is crucial to ensure your vitamin D levels are adequate. For many older adults, especially in parts of the country with less sun, this may mean talking to your doctor about getting your levels tested and considering a supplement. It's that important. 3. The Rainbow Foundation. Fill the rest of your plate with a colorful variety of fruits and vegetables. They provide essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that support your overall health and further help to fight inflammation, creating the best possible environment for your muscles to thrive. I want to leave you with a final thought from the experts who live and breathe this work. This journey is not about perfection. It is about progress. It's about self-compassion. There will be good days and not so good days. The goal is simply to make the better choice more often. Be gentle with yourself. You are learning a new way to nourish your body, to honor the strength it has, and to rebuild the strength you deserve. You are not alone in this, and you have the power to make a profound difference in your own health. Thank you for investing your time and attention with me today. It's a privilege to share this vital information. Now I'd like to hear from you. This isn't about sharing numbers or data. It's about sharing our human experience. In the comments below, please share one small change you feel inspired to make after watching this. And more importantly, how do you hope that change will help you feel? Perhaps it's feeling more confident on your feet, having more energy to play with grandchildren, or simply reclaiming a sense of control over your health. Your story could be the very thing that inspires someone else to take that first step. Remember, knowledge is the first step to empowerment. Take care of yourselves and be well. If you found this information valuable, please consider liking this video and sharing it with someone you care about. And subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based guidance to help you live your strongest, healthiest life.